Howdy, folks. I'm a jovial jade jellyfish, jaunting joyfully, jousting, jeering jitterbugs.
I'm Amber.
And here's some Reddit. And Amber, that was brought to you by Amber again today.
Yes, Brian made me add extras to it. It was originally just 5 things, and he's like, we need 3 more.
Let's get started. Alright, folks, our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for leaving my surprise wedding because I felt blindsided? No. Last week, I, a 30-year-old female, was invited to a supposedly fancy party by my longtime boyfriend, Mark, a 32-year-old male. We had been dating for 5 years, and while we had discussed marriage before, there were no immediate plans for a wedding. Excited about the event, I dressed up in my best attire and I arrived at the designated venue. As I entered the grand hall, I was completely taken aback to see all of our family, friends, and acquaintances gathered, eagerly waiting. It turns out that Mark had orchestrated an elaborate surprise wedding for us without my knowledge. Everyone erupted into applause as I stood there, shocked and overwhelmed. I just felt a mix of emotions. While I love Mark and I had dreamed of our future together, the idea of getting married without any prior discussion or consent felt like a breach of trust. So I pulled Mark aside and I tried to express my concerns and reservations about the surprise wedding. I explained that I wanted a say in the planning process, to be part of the decision making, and to have a chance to prepare mentally and emotionally for such a significant milestone in our lives. However, Mark dismissed my concerns, saying that he thought it would be a romantic gesture and that I would be thrilled. In that moment, I faced a difficult choice to go along with the surprise wedding, putting on a smile despite my feeling of unsettledness, or stand up for my autonomy and voice my true feelings. I ultimately made the decision not to proceed with the wedding, much to the disappointment and confusion of our guests. Now I find myself at odds with Mark, our families, and even some of our friends who believe that I overreacted and spoiled a beautiful moment. However, I firmly believe that a marriage should be a joint decision, open communication, and shared expectations. Everyone's excuse for this is that I have always talked about marrying Mark. And again, the problem isn't marrying him. The problem is not having any say in my wedding. Mark thought that I would appreciate it because I always spoke about how stressful a wedding must be. Yes, I think it's stressful, but it's still something that I would like to plan. After this whole ordeal, everyone asked if Mark and I were ending things, in which I replied no. I emphasized towards them and Mark that I still wanted to marry him, and most feel like this is making me even more of a jerk, since I wasted a perfectly fine wedding, just like she threw out a piece of cake or something like that. So am I the jerk for refusing to attend my own surprise wedding, even though it was intended as a romantic gesture? Edit. I previously omitted this information from my post because of the subreddit's word count guidelines. I love surprises. It's a thing that everyone has known for me to love. Mark, knowing that, the fact that I wanted to marry him and said that the wedding planning was stressful, thought a surprise wedding would be perfect. A surprise engagement is bland because it is always a surprise, but not a wedding. He threw this wedding for the surprise, but explained how in a couple of days we could do a courthouse wedding to make it legal. This was his only way to surprise me. I love spontaneity, but legal marriage or not, I wanted a say in my wedding. To choose the perfect date, to choose my bridesmaids, to pick out a cake. Again, due to these thoughts, everyone thinks that I'm a jerk because I could have just went along with the party and had a redo legal wedding. But again, I felt blindsided and confused, so I left. Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
So much not the jerk, OP, and it's really concerning that your partner would take something as big as a marriage and spring that on you. Like, I understand you talked about marriage, but that doesn't mean I am ready to marry you at this any second you choose.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's a lot more that goes into a wedding than just the I do's. There's the whole having the people you love at your side, being able to invite your bridesmaids, pick the perfect dress, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's totally valid that you would want to say in something that's supposed to represent the two of you, because this is Mark's idea of a wedding. This isn't you.
Yeah, well, and then on top of that, OP never had a chance to mentally prepare for this big event. She just was completely walked into something that she had one expectation for, and then was told that there was a completely different expectation. She had all these people staring at her, and some people, while they might like surprises, this is like getting a surprise house, or someone adopting a child by surprise, or something big like that, where it's a joint decision that should be made between two people, as opposed to a decision that's made by one person.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is like, you can love someone dearly and want to marry them someday, but not be ready for them to just like spring it on you.
Well, and they weren't even engaged, right? So she didn't even have the idea that this marriage was coming up anytime soon. And maybe Mark would have been a little... I think Mark is misguided. I don't think he's malicious. I think he's misguided. And I also think it's very concerning that he dismissed her feelings on this.
So, and it is concerning that he was dismissive and just wanted her to go ahead with this when she wasn't feeling sure. Again, marriage isn't something you should do unless you're 100% on board. And it's, like OP says, it's about having autonomy, about having a say. And it does concern me a little that he was so dismissive of her say in this and was just, I want to do this big grand gesture.
Yeah.
Like, was this really for her or was this for him?
Yeah, and that's the real question here. And I think that's something that OP needs to reflect on and figure out whether or not this was actually for her. And again, they weren't even engaged, so this wasn't even on her radar.
Well, what I don't get is, how did he get all their family and friends on board with this? Like, wouldn't at least someone be like, hey, hold up, are you sure OP's going to be on board with this?
I know, that's kind of makes me wonder if he painted this in a very different light, and that he painted this as though she said that she didn't want to do a wedding planning, or even indicated that maybe she wanted a surprise wedding. So it makes me wonder how he did get everyone on board, because that's a really extravagant thing to put together in a short period of time.
It is, and I just feel so bad for OP that everyone's like ganging up on her, because again, like, nothing she has said is unreasonable. Yeah. Like, I love Brian dearly, but if he had just sprung a wedding on me, I would have been very overwhelmed in the moment. It would have been too much, and I would have been overwhelmed, and I don't know what I would have done, so I can understand why she would say, no thank you, and nope out of it.
Yeah. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Galan Smokes Scale says, get out of that relationship, not the jerk 100%. And Epic Dino Fight says, you know Mark's a jerk when he takes his moves right out of Gaston's playbook. Mufasa says, when I was a lad, I ate 4 dozen eggs every morning to help me get large. Male Outrageous 4553 says, I'd also be asking all of my family and friends if they knew about this. Who told this man that this was a good idea? And Bird Draman says, for me, it wasn't just Mark being a jerk. He could have genuinely have had good intentions, just a bad way of putting them in action. But not one of the friends and family actually put themselves in OP's shoes and didn't think that OP might want to have had a word on the day, which is supposed to be one of the best and most important days of her life. Honestly, I don't understand the logic of some people. And Happy Summer Breeze says, she loves surprises. She said that she wants to marry him. She has expressed that she doesn't want the hassle of organizing a wedding. He's not that wild of him to think that she would like it.
I disagree there.
And Runs 13 Points says, a marriage is a partnership, not an ambush. Also, how was he able to get a marriage license without your presence, not the jerk? And I think that was basically expressed in there. So.
Yeah, they're just doing the wedding part and not the legally binding stuff. Yeah.
And Bob 3725 says, not the jerk. If he marries you without having to ask you, what else would he do with the same excuse? Surprise, I got the new car that we talked about. Oh, you wanted to choose the model and have the full experience? Surprise, we got a house. We talked so much about the new house for us and the kids. We're still having kids, right? I exaggerate, but you get where I'm going. Make sure you keep control over your own life.
Mm-hmm.
Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not letting my son's girlfriend in because of my daughter? I'm the father of 2 kids. My daughter and son, 15, they are twins. My son has a girlfriend. I don't really like her. Neither does my daughter. I never asked her why she doesn't like my son's girlfriend because I don't want to anger my daughter. Abby, fake name of girlfriend, lives about 30-minute walk from our house. Before this, it was really sunny, but it started pouring and thundering. I was cooking dinner and I heard the doorbell ring. I walked to the door expecting to see the mailman, but I opened the door and there was Abby. Abby says, "Can I come in, please?" She was soaked with water and her mascara was running. I was kind of irritated that she came here unexpectedly, so I told her, "No, you can't come in." She looked at me in disbelief for a minute and she said, "Please, sir, can I just sit downstairs while you guys eat?" she asked. I told her no because I assume that she has to go eat dinner at her house with her own parents. "No, you may not. Go home." I did say it a bit harshly and then I closed the door. I later found out that my son invited her around. Then she had to walk 30 minutes back to her house in the rain. But I think that she could learn from this and not show up without asking. Am I the jerk here? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk? Not the jerk? Pure monster.
Yeah, oh my goodness. What is wrong with you, OP? You let a child walk in a thunderstorm because you are annoyed.
Yeah, you don't like her, so you made her walk in a thunderstorm for 30 minutes.
Like, I feel so bad for this poor girl because it doesn't sound like OP has a good reason for not liking her. It's not clear if the daughter has some reason for not liking her. They just don't like her. So it's worth putting her life at risk just because it's a minor inconvenience to have her sit in our living room for a few waiting for her parents.
I just wonder, how heartless do you have to be of a person to see a soaked child and think to yourself, they can go take a hike.
And he didn't even bother to check and see if his son asked or anything. He's like, oh, well, I didn't invite her. So, like, yeah, maybe the son messed up by inviting someone without getting permission. She fully expected that she was supposed to be here.
Also, it doesn't matter if she was invited not invited or anything like that. Certainly, like, I agree with Amber here. Maybe the son should have run it by the dad first, but maybe he ran it by their mom first and she said it was fine or something. There are any number of scenarios here. Where I'm hung up on this whole thing is that you made a poor child walk through the rain in a thunderstorm for 30 minutes because you're petty.
Yeah, well, I was just saying, like, it adds insult to injury that she was invited here by the son and assumed she could come in, and then Opie's like, no, you can just go walk home in the rain.
And chances are he did this on purpose to drive a wedge between the relationship because he doesn't like this person, and so he's trying to do whatever he can to make sure she knows she's not welcome here because he doesn't want her here. He doesn't like her, so he's just trying to mess things up. And I hope that you can look inside yourself and find a place for you to grow and learn from this experience, because you're not a very good person right now and you're not acting like a very good person. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Top Ad 7154 says, "You're the jerk. She's a literal child. Imagine someone did that to your daughter. What is wrong with you?" Strong Mew 1 says, "Exactly. What parent would make a teenager walk 30 minutes home in the rain? Absolute minimum is let her sit in the kitchen and give her a towel and a hot drink till the storm stops. You're the jerk. Plus, plus, plus. OP, how does your son stand you?" And Nathan Poe says, "She was invited. You are the one that acted inappropriately here towards a child. I don't know what your deal is, but there is no question you are the jerk here." And Sharamom4 says, "You're the jerk. Why didn't you just call your son to the door and ask if he asked Abby over? And who cares if your daughter likes her or not? Your son does like her. And she was asked over. She learned today that her boyfriend's dad is a jerk." Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, "I'm a 34-year-old female, and my boyfriend, a 35-year-old male of 6 years, has photos of my sister, 27-year-old female, on his phone. My boyfriend is a 34-year-old male, and asked me, a 34-year-old female, to help him with something on his phone. Support asked me to send a screenshot of the error message that he was getting. When I went into his gallery to attach the screenshot, I saw that he had screenshots of my sister from her social media page. To be fair, these are photos that anyone has access to. But that's also kind of the issue. Why would you need screenshots of these photos if you can look at them anytime you want? I'm not dumb, I know why he has them, and I'm beyond grossed out. Additional information. We have been together for almost 7 years, and we live together. My sister is 27 and is my best friend. She spends the night at our house. My boyfriend and I have spent the night at her house. He has also been to all of our family events. He is family. Also, my boyfriend is terrible with technology. I'm constantly helping him reset passwords, place return orders, etc. I have found tons of adult images and adult image searches on his phone, and I have told him numerous times, I don't care what you look at, but it shouldn't be this easy for me to find. I have told him about private browsing. To clarify, I have never looked through his phone. Anything I have found is literally because he's asked me to help him, and in helping, it was right there in front of me. When I found the pictures, I tried to just finish what I was helping him with, and I ended up being so upset and my hands were shaking that I threw the phone in his lap, and I told him that he's going to have to figure this out himself because I saw the pictures of my sister. He instantly knew that he was in trouble. And the first thing he said to me was, well, I know you're going to be mad at me tonight and probably tomorrow too. I went into the bedroom and I shut the door. As he tends to do, he came in 20 minutes later and asked if I wanted to talk. I told him that there was no reason for him to have those saved on his phone. That it's always going to be weird to have him around her when she's there. That I feel grossed out. He first accused me of looking through his phone, which I quickly corrected. Then he said guys are just different, with no further explanation, and the rest was just, I don't know what to say, and telling me that he was going to give me space. At one point, he asked if I was going to leave him, but I don't think he let me answer, or he started saying something else. Either way, I didn't get to answer. I don't know if this is a relationship deal breaker, or if this is just something to have a conversation about. How do I not feel weird seeing him interact with my sister? It also is bad because my sister is the person I would normally go to with this information. But I can't tell her this. Alright folks, what do you think? What advice do we have to offer the poor OP in this situation?
I think it's probably best to have some kind of conversation with your sister about this if he's ever going to be around her again.
Yeah.
Like maybe if you break up with him on the spot and just like throw him out of your life completely, you don't have to have that conversation. You can just say reconcilable differences or something like that to spare your sister knowing.
Well, unfortunately, because their sister is their best friend.
Yeah.
In this particular case, it would come across as really odd.
That's true.
So I don't think OP has any choice but to tell her sister at a certain point.
Because your sister deserves to know that your boyfriend is creeping on her and has been using her photos in ways she probably would not appreciate. I know it's not going to be an easy conversation to have, and how she reacts to it might help you decide how to go forward. Does she even want to be in a room with him again? Or is this too much and she's never going to look at him the same way again?
Yeah, I think that this is something that OP should really talk to her sister about and really bring it up as gently as possible, explain what's going on, and say, yeah, my boyfriend's apparently creeping on you. She's probably going to be the person who's best able to help provide you with guidance in this situation, especially since she's going to be so close to the situation and going to be the one who's also impacted by this.
Yeah.
So it may be worthwhile having a conversation about it.
But I don't think you should just sweep it under the rug and ignore it or something like that. I don't think that's going to work. I think it's going to continue to fester in your mind. It's not fair to put your sister in that situation either, knowing how your boyfriend feels about her potentially.
Yeah, and I think that that's the real big issue here. And, there are hundreds of thousands of people and images and pictures out there. And what does he do? He goes with someone that's like so close to proximity of them. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, come on guy. She doesn't even care if you look at images. Why did you have to choose her sister of all people. And I think that really kind of shows his character in general here. And OP, it just does not look good. I think that this might very well be a relationship breaker.
It raises questions for me about going forward. Is he going to try making a move on your sister sometime down the road? Like, how much of this is fantasy and how much of this is reality?
Yeah, and that's why, again, I think that bringing the sister into the loop here is going to be probably cathartic and helpful, and it's going to allow you to kind of gauge her reaction.
Yeah, well, I think the important thing is just center your sister and her comfort in all of this.
Yeah.
If she doesn't care, she doesn't care. But if she does, it's your boyfriend who's going to be the one not going to family events and whatnot because he's a creep. He's the one who's misbehaved, not her.
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Pine Box Waiting says, gross. Yes, this is a deal breaker. Guys, normal guys, are not that different. Knowing that he does this to pictures of your sister, no, there's no coming back from that. I'm sorry that he's such an unapologetic reprobate, and I'm sorry for the pain that you're in and in the pain that lies ahead. It's kind of what I'm thinking. And Interrupting Cow, Moo, says, yes, if he thinks this is normal behavior and that you'll get over it in 2 days, he's not understanding the betrayal that it is to have your person in your life doing this to your sister. This isn't a man thing, this is a him thing, and it's crossing a line. Akshu Ag the Fifth says, you should definitely tell your sister this is a potentially dangerous situation for her. And X Riverfish 4557 says, the whole guys are just different is such a miserable excuse. He's got the whole internet of options, and instead he goes to your sister's social media. That's not a guys are different thing. That's a your boyfriend is creeping on your sister thing. Tell your sister so she can block him on everything. Make him delete the screenshots and then ask yourself if you can really be with someone who treats you and your sister this way. Though I think you already know the answer. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I have a beverage of choice right here, and Amber has a joke of choices.
What do you call a swampy area that is home to many tadpoles?
I can tell you exactly what you call a swampy area that's home to many tadpoles. It's called Orono.
I mean, that's true, but also a frog bog.
A frog bog. That's a clever rhyme. I mean, joke. And I have Earl Grey. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Tuesday, spelled T-O-W.
Oh, that's not how you spell any kind of two.
It's exactly how you spell two. Amber, we need some kind of advice. We need some kind of moral. Please have it a surprise. I have mine already.
Okay.
Surprise! Your brother's a creep. I mean, your boyfriend's a creep. That's even worse. This just took a really terrible turn.
I was going to say something like, surprise, it's your unbirthday. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's very surprising. I was not expecting that at all. I'm very surprised by that moral, seeing as how it's just not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to throw a surprise wedding on you, but we can have a surprise unbirthday celebration. So everyone wish Brian a very merry unbirthday.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Bye.